I always believed death brought peace. But what happens to your body in the first 72 hours underground? That truth changed everything for me. Get ready to discover shocking details. Most people never learn them. That was it. My life ended. I only remember emptiness. My brain fell silent. My heart stopped beating. This was the end of everything I knew. Then the commotion began. People cried around me. I heard their voices, but I couldn't answer. My body lay still. It wasn't mine anymore. It was growing cold. Next, they prepared me for my final journey. They dressed me in my best clothes. They carefully placed me in the coffin. It felt strange. I felt strange hands touching me. But I felt no pain, only a piercing cold and a slowly approaching darkness. Then they carried the coffin. I heard footsteps, quiet voices. It was my family, my friends. They were saying goodbye. I wanted to shout, "I'm here!" But I couldn't. I was just a body, silent. This was my final journey. I felt movement. The coffin was lowered, slowly, down, into that deep black pit. Then earth began to fall from above, first softly like rain, then louder. Each clump of dirt hit the coffin lid. It was a heavy, muffled thud. I heard them packing it down. I felt the pressure. And then complete, utter darkness arrived. Absolute silence. I was locked in. I was alone, deep underground. What now? No one would see me. No one would hear me. I lay there, my body. It no longer obeyed me. But inside, processes were starting, irreversible ones. This was the beginning. The start was something nobody talks about. My new, terrifying world was now here. I thought my story ended there. But what if I told you a real battle began inside me on that very first night in the grave? A battle I couldn't control. But it defined everything that followed. The first night arrived. The darkness pressed down. I lay there, feeling the cold. It seeped into every cell. My body grew colder, slowly, with every passing hour. It felt strange, as if all the warmth was leaving me, life itself. But something was happening inside. I couldn't stop it. My cells started to die. They seemed to dissolve, all on their own. This is called autolysis. My own body began to break itself down. No pain, just a process. Invisible, but very real. Then something else began. My muscles, they started to tighten, to contract. Just a little at first, then harder and harder. My arms, legs, jaw, my entire body stiffened. It felt like a powerful spasm. They call this rigor mortis. I lay motionless, but inside me, a terrifying life went on, unfathomable. My eyes were closed, yet I saw this process. I felt each muscle freeze. It was like being encased in ice, but the ice was inside me. My body grew hard, cold, and alien. It wasn't me anymore, just a shell. But even within this shell, changes continued. The first night was a battle within, a battle my body was losing. Every hour, every minute, I was there. In that darkness, and this was only the beginning. I thought they had left me in peace, but on the second night in the grave, my body became a battlefield. Billions of uninvited guests arrived. They came to begin their work. What they did was far worse than I could have imagined. The second night began. I was still there, in the darkness. My body lay, hard, cold. But now an entire army deployed inside me. An army I couldn't see, but I felt its work. These were microbes, bacteria. They had always lived in me. Now they began to eat. They ate my tissues, breaking down everything that was alive. It was like an invisible feast. This feast created gases, lots of gases. They began to build up inside. My body swelled. It changed. Its shape became different, horrific. I felt myself stretching from within. It was like a balloon filling with air, but it wasn't air. It was the products of decay. The smell. It grew stronger. Even as just a body, I felt it. It was the smell of death, truly. My skin, it also changed. Its color. First it was pale. Then it began to darken. Spots appeared. Red, bluish. This was blood that no longer flowed. It pooled in one place. It showed through the skin. The second night was a night of change. A night when my body stopped resembling what it once was. It was becoming something else. Something preparing for even worse things. The uninvited guests worked non-stop, and their work had only just begun. I had already seen my body change. But when the third night arrived, I understood. Everything before was just the beginning. The darkest, most irreversible transformations waited for me then. The third night began. I no longer felt like myself. My body had changed. Gases continued to accumulate. They pressed hard. Everything churned inside me. My skin grew even darker. Horrific spots appeared. Large, blue, green. It looked terrifying. My body swelled even more. My facial features flattened, or rather, they blurred. It became hard to recognize. This wasn't me anymore. It was just a shell. And this shell kept changing. My tissues, they became soft, liquid. My insides began to turn to mush. This was the process of putrefaction. It was in full swing. Bacteria worked non-stop. They were everywhere, inside, outside, and they ate everything. My hair, my nails, they still held on, but everything else, it changed beyond recognition. My body was cold, but inside, a frenzy of activity was underway. Destructive work. It was terrifying to lie there and know your own body was falling apart. The smell, it became unbearable. It permeated the coffin, penetrated the earth. It was a smell that screamed of the end, of complete dissolution. The third night concluded these first, most horrific 72 hours. My body had gone through changes that were irreversible. It was a one-way path, and it had only just begun. I spent only 3 nights in the grave, but in those 72 hours, my body changed by 90%. What I felt inside me showed me this was the end of what I knew. There was no going back. So these 3 nights passed, 72 hours. I lay there in the darkness. My body changed beyond recognition. It all began with cold. Then rigor mortis set in. My muscles turned hard, like stone. This was the first step, a step towards complete disintegration. Then the guests appeared, billions of bacteria. They began their work. Without stopping, they ate and produced gases. My body swelled. It changed shape. My skin color became terrifying. Spots, Blue, green, it was horrible. My tissues, they grew soft, turning to liquid. This was the process of putrefaction. It worked deep inside. My body was no longer me. It was just a mass, changing, decaying. These 3 nights showed me one thing. Death is not just a stop. It's the start of a new process. Terrifying. Irreversible. You can't stop it. You can't go back. Your body begins its journey. A journey to complete disappearance. This was the end. The end of what I knew. The end of myself. This is the truth. Harsh, cold, but it's true. And it's just the beginning of a long journey. A journey everybody takes. In the darkness. Underground. Here, the story of my body ends, but the mysteries do not. If you don't want to miss other shocking discoveries and learn what happens to your soul after these 3 nights, subscribe to Mysteries of the Spirit now.